Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm bringing you the next chapter in the story of Hoai Ca and Officer Hung, two people who have weathered countless hardships and sleepless nights, holding on to one single belief. That little Tony will get better, will speak again, and will have a childhood as full and joyful as any other child. In recent days, the smile on Hoai Ca's face has become brighter, while Hung has been busy preparing to build a new home, a strong, loving haven he promised to dedicate to her and their son. It seemed that happiness was finally within their reach, that after all the storms, they could at last find peace beside each other. But just when everything appeared to be going well, a major incident struck. An unexpected accident turned all their plans upside down, and the joy that had just begun to bloom now faces the threat of being extinguished. Stay with me until the end of today's video to find out what really happened to Hoai Ca, Hung, and little Tony. Will their happiness remain whole after this tragedy? During the long days of Tony's treatment and rehabilitation, Hoai Ca and Hung hardly left their son's side. At dawn, when the first light had yet to touch the horizon, they were already awake, folding blankets, checking medicines, and calling the nurse to ask for the earliest therapy session. They knew every injection time, every dosage, and every tiny exercise Tony had to complete throughout the day. The therapy room was always lit early. Hung carefully guided his son step by step, his hands large and rough from years of work, yet so gentle when resting on the boy's shoulders. Beside him, Hoai Ca watched every small movement, whispering softly each time Tony tried to lift his leg. "Good job, my boy, just a little more, I know you can do it." Some days, Tony grew too tired and burst into tears, from pain, from fear. Hung quickly knelt down, wiping the tears from his son's cheeks, his voice low yet steady. "It's okay, son. You're strong. Dad's here, Mom's here. We'll do this together." Just a few simple words, but for them, it was enough strength to carry on. Amid the hospital sounds, the rattling of trolleys, the echo of doctors' footsteps, the rhythmic beeps of machines, there was always Tony's faint laughter whenever his father carried him after therapy. "Dad, look! I can walk now," the boy exclaimed, his eyes sparkling like tiny stars. At that moment, Hoai Ca laughed through her tears, while Hung only hugged his son tighter, unable to speak a word. By noon, they sat side by side in the hospital canteen. Their boxed meals were cold, just a bit of braised fish and boiled greens, but they ate anyway, knowing they needed strength to keep going for their son. Sometimes, Hung gently placed a small piece of fish into his wife's bowl, his voice hoarse from lack of sleep. "Eat, honey. You've lost too much weight. If Tony sees you weak, he'll be sad again." Hoai Ca smiled faintly, nodding as tears welled up. She quickly wiped them away before he could notice. At night, the hospital corridors fell silent, dimly lit by the yellow glow of lamps. Outside, rain pattered softly against the windows, blending with the steady rhythm of the heart monitor, a fragile lullaby in the long night. Hoai Ca rested her head beside Tony's bed, her hand clutching his tiny fingers, gently brushing his hair as she murmured small prayers. "Please keep him safe, please let him get better soon." Across the room, Hung leaned against the wall, eyes half closed. He was exhausted, but seeing his son sleep peacefully melted all the weariness away. He glanced at Hoai Ca, thinner now, her hair messy, dark circles under her eyes, yet her gaze remained bright and full of love. Under the dim hospital light, the sight of the two parents sitting beside their child's bed felt so simple, and yet, so sacred. As long as Tony gets better, everything will be worth it. That single sentence was their silent vow. Because for them, happiness wasn't wealth or a big house, it was seeing their son stand on his own feet, hearing his laughter fill that little hospital room. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring, or how fast the healing would come. But one thing they were certain of: they would never let go. For in the hearts of Hoai Ca and Hung, as long as they had their son, as long as they still believed, even if the world outside were to fall apart, they would still rise, together. That night, the hospital room was quieter than usual. Outside, rain tapped softly on the tin roof, and the faint hallway lights spilled through the window, illuminating half of Hoai Ca's weary face as she lay beside Tony. The little boy slept soundly, his breathing calm and steady. His tiny fingers clutched at the corner of his mother's shirt, as if afraid that letting go might make her disappear. Hoai Ca smiled gently, brushing his hair back with a trembling hand and whispering, "Sleep well, my love. Tomorrow I'll tell you about our new home, with a big yard and that mango tree you love." On the floor nearby, Hung lay on a thin blanket, just beside the bed. He had long grown used to sleeping that way, whether in the hospital or a small rented room nearby. As long as he could stay close to his wife and son, nothing else mattered. The dim light cast soft shadows across his face, revealing eyes that were tired but full of quiet strength. Every so often, he turned slightly to check if the two were still sleeping peacefully. Outside, the rain grew heavier. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it a sound both lonely and strangely comforting. Hung reached up to pull the blanket a little higher over Hoai Ca's shoulder, then sighed softly. His gaze lingered on the sight of her hand holding Tony's, a small, fragile image that somehow felt stronger than anything in the world. He thought about the days ahead. When Tony could finally run and laugh again. When their new house would stand proudly on the hill. When Hoai Ca would no longer have to stay up every night by their son's bedside. If they could just make it to that day, every hardship would be worth it. Near midnight, the hallway lights flickered, dimmed, then went out, leaving only a faint glow from the window. Hung closed his eyes, listening to the rhythm of the rain mixing with his son's steady breathing. In the darkness, he could almost feel the warmth radiating from that little hospital bed, the warmth of love, of family, of fragile hope they had fought so hard to hold on to. Neither of them said a word, yet both knew. This was the first truly peaceful night they had shared in a long, long time. A night that felt calm, but quietly carried the scent of a coming storm. That night, the hospital room was quieter than usual. No more hurried footsteps of nurses, no more chatter echoing through the corridor, only the sound of raindrops tapping against the tin roof, and the dim yellow light seeping through the window, hazy, melancholy, strangely beautiful. The small room was filled with the faint scent of disinfectant, mixed with the aroma of ginger tea that Hoai Ca had brewed but never had the chance to drink. Tony was asleep. He lay on his side, breathing softly like a passing breeze, his long lashes trembling slightly whenever the rain hit the glass. A small white bandage still wrapped around his wrist, where the foreline had been removed that afternoon. Hoai Ca gently pulled the blanket higher over him, then lay down beside her son, her gaze tender, as if wanting to memorize every tiny detail of his fragile face. She brushed her fingers lightly against his hand, feeling the faint warmth still there. In that moment, memories flooded back, the nights when he burned with fever, the therapy sessions where he cried out in pain, the times she and Hung sat silently in the corridor, holding each other and crying in the dark. She had never imagined she could be this strong, all because of 3 words, "My little boy." "Sleep well, my son," she whispered, her voice trembling. She felt that if she spoke softly enough, he would hear her and smile in his dreams. On the floor, Hung lay curled up under a thin blanket. His back ached after a long day, but his eyes stayed open, watching the bed, watching every breath his son took, every small movement his wife made. The room was far too small, yet to him, it was the whole world. As long as he could see them safe and peaceful, he could sleep on the floor forever, and never complain. Outside, the rain began to fall harder, the cold wind whistling through the cracks, carrying with it the earthy scent of wet soil. The hallway lights flickered and dimmed, leaving only the soft blue glow of the heart monitor reflecting off the wall. The steady beep of the machine echoed like the rhythm of their own hearts, steady yet fragile, just strong enough to keep them from breaking. Hung turned slightly, then sat up. He tiptoed to the bedside, gently fixing the blanket over Hoai Ca, sliding the pillow closer beneath her head. She looked exhausted, her face pale, dark circles under her eyes, yet her hands still clung tightly to her son's. He looked at her, throat tightening. How many times had he wanted to say, "Rest a little, let me watch over him," but every time he opened his mouth, he stopped. Because he knew, a mother's heart could never rest while her child was still weak. He went back to his spot on the floor, leaned against the wall, and stared up at the ceiling. The sound of rain outside beat like time itself, each second stretching endlessly. In the faint light, his eyes gleamed, deep, weary, full of words left unsaid. A drop of water fell from a small crack in the roof, landing beside his pillow. The quiet drip startled him. He gave a faint, bitter laugh. Their lives were just like that droplet, small, fragile, yet still falling, still fighting to exist amid the storms. Hung placed a hand over his chest, feeling his heart race. He didn't know why, but an odd unease crept into him, a strange, restless feeling, as though something was about to happen. He looked toward his wife and son, forcing the thought away, whispering to himself, "It's okay, tomorrow will be a new day. Everything will be fine." Time moved slowly. The sounds of rain, wind, and Tony's breathing blended into a sad yet soothing lullaby. That cold, sterile hospital room had somehow become a sanctuary, filled with love, with hope, with the fragile faith they had been holding onto for so long. That night, no one said a word. They simply held on, to the small hands, the fading warmth, and the belief that tomorrow would still be kind. The three of them drifted into sleep, cradled by the rain's quiet song, never realizing that this would be their last peaceful night, before a sudden storm would come crashing in, sweeping away everything they thought was steady, and testing, once again, the strength of their love, their faith, and the fragile home they had built together. The doctors quickly identified the cause. Hoai Ca had gone into anaphylactic shock due to an allergic reaction to one of the ingredients in her dinner. Within just a few short minutes, her face turned pale, her lips bluish, and her breathing became shallow and uneven. At first, Hung thought she was just exhausted from lack of sleep, but when she suddenly collapsed beside the bed, he froze, then shouted in panic, "Doctor! Please, help my wife!" His voice echoed through the corridor, breaking the silence of the night. Nurses and the on-call doctors rushed in, the emergency cart rattling as it was wheeled through the door. Inside the room came a flurry of sounds, hurried footsteps, beeping monitors, sharp commands cutting through the air. "Adrenaline injection, now. Prepare the oxygen tank. Blood pressure's dropping, recheck immediately." Tony woke up startled, his small face filled with confusion and fear. He didn't understand what was happening, only that his father was being held back outside the door, while his mother lay motionless on the bed, surrounded by people in white coats. "Dad, what's wrong with Mom?" he cried, his voice trembling. Hung tried to stay calm, holding his son tightly, his voice breaking. "It's okay, son. Mom will be fine, she'll be fine." But deep down, he didn't know if that was true. Cold sweat ran down his spine, his hands clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. He could only stare through the fogged glass, where the red emergency light flickered, reflecting off the focused faces of the medical team. A single injection. A few urgent movements. Short, firm exchanges between nurses, and slowly, the chaos began to subside. The heart monitor's beeping steadied, Hoai Ca's breathing evened out. The doctor leaned in to check her pulse, then gave a small nod. She's stable now. The critical phase has passed. Keep her under observation through the night. Just that one sentence made Hung's knees nearly give out. He leaned against the wall, still clutching Tony in his arms. The boy burst into tears, overwhelmed with both fear and relief. Inside the room, the emergency lights dimmed. Only the steady beep, beep, of the heart monitor remained, a quiet lullaby of peace after a storm that had nearly stolen everything. No one spoke, but everyone exhaled. A few doctors exchanged faint smiles, the nurses patted each other's shoulders. And Hung stood there silently, eyes red, staring at his wife, pale and still, yet alive. He stepped closer, took her hand gently, and whispered in the soft rain that still fell outside the window. "You scared me so much, Hoai Ca. Please, never do that again." She didn't respond, but her fingers twitched ever so slightly, like a faint echo of awareness. That tiny movement was enough for him to know she had heard him. And only then did he allow himself to take a deep breath, realizing that tonight, once again, they had walked the fragile line between life and loss. The doctors quickly determined the cause. Hoai Ca had suffered an anaphylactic shock due to an allergic reaction to one ingredient in her dinner. Everything happened far too fast. Just moments ago, she had been smiling, watching her son sleep. Now, her body convulsed, her breathing ragged, her lips pale, sweat pouring down her face like rain. Hung froze, unable to process what was happening. Then instinct took over. He rushed forward to catch her, shouting in panic. "Doctor! Please, someone help my wife!" His voice echoed through the empty corridor. Within seconds, nurses and night shift doctors burst into the room, pushing in trays of medication, oxygen tanks, and emergency equipment that suddenly felt far too familiar. Adrenaline, now. Blood pressures crashing, monitor her heart rate. "Start in 4, hurry." Orders flew through the air, wheels screeched on the floor, and the heart monitor beeped wildly, all blending into a frantic symphony in the middle of the night. Hoai Ca lay motionless. Her face had drained of color, her breaths faint and uneven. One nurse supported her head, another held her arms steady as the doctor pressed down on her chest, shouting over the chaos. "Come on, she's responding. Prepare another backup dose." Outside, Tony woke up to the noise. The boy's terrified eyes peered through the small gap in the door. His mother lay still on the bed, surrounded by strangers in white coats. "Dad, what's wrong with Mom?" he whimpered, tears welling up. Hung clutched him tightly, hands trembling, voice quivering but trying to sound calm. "It's okay, son. Mom will be fine. She's going to be okay." He said it for his child's sake, but really, it was to stop himself from breaking apart. His heart pounded violently, every beep of the machine seemed to tear through his chest. Each time a needle pierced his wife's skin, he flinched, shutting his eyes tight. Only a few minutes passed, but to him, it felt like a lifetime. Then suddenly, a long, drawn-out beep, followed by the steady rhythm of life returning. For a moment, the entire room fell silent. A young doctor exhaled in relief, lifting his head. "She's stable. The danger has passed." Blood pressure's coming back up. A nurse switched off the flashing red alarm. The emergency lights dimmed, giving way to stillness. Outside, Hung still stood frozen, holding Tony close, both of them watching through the small glass window, too afraid to even breathe. When the doctor finally stepped out, pulling down his mask, his voice was calm but heavy. "Luckily, we caught it in time. If it had been just a few minutes later, she might not have made it." Hung's body went weak. He bowed deeply, voice hoarse and trembling. "Thank you, doctor, thank you, everyone." As he spoke, his tears fell freely, hot, uncontrollable. Tony clung to his father's neck, sobbing uncontrollably. Hung bent down, wiping the boy's tears with shaking hands. "It's okay now, son. She's safe. Mom's going to wake up soon." The boy nodded, pressing himself tightly into his father's embrace, his small eyes still swollen with fear. Inside, the white hospital light reflected gently on Hoai Ca's pale face. She was still weak, but her breathing had steadied. Her chest rose and fell in a fragile rhythm. Outside, a light rain continued to fall, soft and steady, as if washing away the terror that had just passed. No one spoke. Only the steady beep, beep, beep of the monitor filled the room, a quiet, rhythmic reminder that life still lingered here. One nurse whispered softly, "Keep her under observation through the night. She should regain consciousness by morning." When the room finally cleared, Hung stepped inside. He sat down beside the bed, took his wife's cold, trembling hand in both of his, and gazed at her in silence, his eyes filled with fear, relief, and exhaustion. Leaning close, his voice broke into a whisper. "You scared me so much. Please, never do that again. I'm not ready to lose you." Her hand twitched, her fingers, weak and trembling, closed slightly around his. That single movement was enough to make his heart ache. He lowered his forehead to her hand and, for the first time in many days, let his tears fall freely. Outside, the rain had stopped. Dawn had yet to come, but at the end of the dim corridor, a faint strip of light stretched across the floor. A fragile, resilient glow, just like the faith they still held on to, even as life continued to test them with storms yet to come. Leave a comment to encourage Hung. After everything he's been through, he deserves a wish for peace. Because as long as there's still faith, then even in a hospital room, on a rainy night, or in the darkest of days, happiness can still endure. Through love, through patience, and through the unyielding courage of a man who refuses to let go. Outside, the rain has stopped. A new day is dawning, but no one knows yet that behind Hoai Ca's long sleep lies another story waiting to unfold. Don't forget to tune in to the next episode tomorrow, when Hoai Ca finally wakes up after the critical night, and the doctor reveals a small secret that leaves Hung frozen in shock. Standing silently by her bedside, unable to believe what he's just heard.
Hello mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình đang làm video về câu chuyện của James và Lý Tử Diệp đây mọi người. Mình đang làm video và vẫn chưa hoàn thành. Bây giờ thì mình đang trong các bước cuối là mình sẽ thêm một vài hiệu ứng động và sau đó là mình sẽ xuất phụ đề và thêm một vài cái hiệu ứng khác nữa, rồi sau đó mình sẽ xuất và đăng tải video lên.